Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about function, operations, and compositions. You're going to need your notes, a calculator, and a pen or pencil, all right? Our learning target for today is we want to be able to perform function, operations, and compositions. So please make sure you get your learning target down. What we're going to do is we're going to go through 7 examples and then we'll be done. Make sure you get each example down written in your notes. So each slide needs to be written in your notes, please. All right, here's our first 2 examples. Now, if we look at this, this says g of x plus 2 times h of x equals what? We're going to be solving these, simplifying them. So when I say g of x, we're going to look up at the top. Those are all my options for what they could be. G of x is right here. So I'm going to plug in what that equals. It is x squared plus 4x minus 3. Now I'm going to do plus 2 times whatever h of x is. H of x is 4x squared minus 2x. Now I'm going to simplify this expression. So when I'm doing this, first thing I have to do is distribute. So I'm going to leave my x squared plus 4x minus 3, and I'm going to distribute this 2 in here. So I'm going to get plus 8x squared minus 4x. Once we get to this point, we're going to go through and combine like terms. So I have x squared and an 8x squared is going to give me 9x squared. Now my x values, I have 4x and I have a negative 4x, so those are just going to cancel each other out. And the last thing I'm left with is the negative 3. This is as simplified as we can get it, so this is going to be my answer, ladies and gentlemen. So there's an example on addition. Now we're going to do an example on subtraction. So if we look at this one, first we're going to start with f of x. Our f of x is negative 2x, so I plug that in there. Now we're going to have minus g of x, and my g of x is x squared plus 4x minus 3. Now, this negative is read like this, you guys. It's like we're taking the negative 1 times this function. So before we can do anything, we have to distribute this negative 1 throughout that function. So I'm going to keep my negative 2x, then I'm going to get negative x squared minus 4x plus 3. Once we get to this point, we're going to combine our like terms. So our like terms here, we have negative x squared. We have a negative 2x and a negative 4x. So I have negative 6x. And then I have finally the plus 3 at the end. I have simplified this as much as possible, so this is going to be my answer. So this is how we're going to add and subtract functions. Okay? The next 2 examples here is how we're going to multiply functions together. So we're going to do 2 examples of this. First thing we're going to do is take our j of x. Our j of x is x minus 5. And we're going to multiply it by h of x, which is 4x squared minus 2x. And we're going to have to use our distributive property again. But this time we have to do both of them. So we're going to do the x first. We're going to take x times 4x squared, which is going to give us 4x cubed, because we multiply our exponents together, we're going to make them larger. Now we have x times negative 2x, so we're going to get negative 2x squared. Now we'll do the same thing with our negative 5. We're going to take negative 5 times 4x squared, which will give us negative 20x squared. And I'm going to take negative 5 times negative 2x, which will give us a positive 10x. Now we're going to combine like terms. We only have 1x cubed, so I have 4x cubed. Our x squared, we have negative 2x squared and negative 20x squared, so we have negative 22x squared, plus what's left, 10x. We've simplified as far as we can, so this is going to be my final answer. All right, moving on to our next multiplication problem. Same exact thing, we're just going to plug things in. So f of x in our case represents negative 2x, so negative 2x times whatever my g of x is. My g of x is x squared plus 4x minus 3. We're going to use our distributive property, so all of this has to be distributed to each of these parts. So I'm going to get negative 2x cubed minus 8x squared plus 6x. Now this one I can't simplify any more than it already is, so this is going to be my final answer. So those are two examples of how we're going to multiply functions together. Now, these last three examples we're going to do, you guys, are going to be more of the composition point. We're going to be combining two functions together. This first one here that we're going to do is very similar to ones we've already done. We're going to replace our x value with negative 2. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up and find h of x. That's the function we're going to work with, and so I'm going to write down 4x squared minus 2x. Now I have to replace the x's with the negative 2. So I have 4 times negative 2 squared minus 2 times negative 2. Now I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to get 4, and now negative 2 squared is also 4 minus 2 times negative 2. Simplify some more. 4 times 4 is 16. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. So we're going to have a plus 4. And my final answer is going to be 20. Okay. Now if we look at this next example, you guys, it's a little bit more complex, but it's saying the same thing. We're going to take the value of j at g of x. So I'm going to start with a j. I'm starting here with j, so I'm going to copy this down. I have x minus 5. Now, that's my original function. I need to replace all my x's with whatever the function g of x is. So if I go up here, this is my function for g of x. Everywhere I have an x, I need to plug that in. So my x here is now not going to be just x, it's going to be x squared plus 4x minus 3. I'm plugging in all of that for the x value. I'm replacing it. And then I have to remember that the end of this has to come along, so I have minus 5 here. Once I get this far, I'm going to combine my like terms like I was doing before. So I'll have x squared plus 4x minus 8. This is as simplified as we can get it, so we're going to leave it just like this. We're going to do one more example like that. All right, so this is our last example. Remember, you had to make sure you get all 7 in your notes. This is the last one. We have the value of g at f of x. So we're talking about the value of g. So we're going to start here with g, and we're going to use this function. So I have x squared plus 4x minus 3. Now I know that I have to replace this with the f of x, which is right here, the negative 2x. So anywhere I have an x, I need to replace it with negative 2x. So when I do this first, I'm going to have negative 2x squared plus 4. Have to replace the x with negative 2x minus 3. Now we're going to start simplifying this. First thing, we have squared. And we have to remember squared means you have to multiply it times itself. So I'm going to have negative 2x times negative 2x. I'm going to rewrite that. Plus 4 times negative 2x minus 3. So when I'm simplifying this, negative 2x times negative 2x is a positive 4x squared. Now here I have to multiply those two. Positive 4 times negative 2, I'm going to get negative 8x. And then I have my minus 3. I'm going to look. I can't combine any like terms, so this indeed is my final answer, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So today we've added functions, we subtracted them, we've multiplied them, and then we've composed two functions together. We're going to be using all of these quite often throughout, so please make sure you took good notes and you understand everything. All right, that is all I have, so go out and have a fabulous, wonderful day, and I will be seeing you later. Bye.